Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd, and it is time for another edition of Let's Argue, where I go online, I take your hot takes, unpopular opinions, and all that stuff. But in this episode, we asked you a very specific question, which I would respond to your answer to that question. I was wondering what, in your opinion, what is the best album or cover art, and why? So, yeah, let's see what you guys said. Let's go! Ooh, Earth 2 cover looks exactly like how the album sounds. I don't entirely agree with that statement. I think it very much doesn't look like how the album sounds. And look, that mislead is kind of intentional, because when you look at the entirety of the album art, including like the back cover of the record, there are these quotes about it kind of being a bit of a new agey type of experience, or at least hinting toward that. But then when you actually listen to it, it's nothing but these heavy, droning, distorted metal guitars, which for music of that style, it's not usually the aesthetic. That's not to say I don't like the cover, though. I do actually love the cover. I love the typography of the cover. I love the simplicity of it. I do love the blissful blue sky on the cover as well. I mean, again, it is a bit of a play on like new agey type of releases, but I think it's really kind of effective and creative in that way, and the music itself is, you know, kind of like an exploration of new sounds and concepts in ambient music anyways, so it's pretty fitting. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, the album deals with Kanye trying to express himself, but being shut down by the media. Then his own album cover gets censored, maybe not intended, but just perfect nonetheless. Yeah, I'm not super crazy about the My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy album cover, at least the original anyway. I just find the painting really rudimentary and not all that appealing. Not to say I don't like any of the promotional art surrounding My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. I do love that multi-faced cover that was paired with the album, or at least sort of rolled out with its release. I also love the cover art to Power with the crown and the sword through the head. I think that's really an evocative and interesting image as well. Twin Fantasy, the closer you look, the stranger it gets. I do agree. I suppose it does, yeah, it does get kind of, wow, I just sort of noticed that the arm going around the other side doesn't actually, like, it doesn't go anywhere. That's kind of funny. I only ever really noticed prior the smile on the one kind of doggish animal going over the eye of the other one. It's certainly a strange image. No explanation needed. Kevo Money's baby goat, where he's coming out of a goat with the chain on. Wow. I don't know what to say. I've seen some pretty terrible album covers in my day, but this is certainly one of them. I also love the daddy goat in the background. He's just excited, man. He is happy. The mama goat, not so much, for obvious reasons. Is This It? The Strokes, Golden Ratios, and then we also have ass cover better. Someone saying the ass cover is better. Ooh, you know, tale as old as time, an everlasting conundrum. The Strokes, Is This It? The Golden Ratios or the ass? Which one is better? You know, call me biased, but I like the ass. I prefer the ass. I do like the simplicity of the ass, the curvature of the ass, the contrast of color with the ass, and the glove, the kinkiness and the darkness that the glove implies. I like the ass. Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. It was so perfectly simplistic and immediately recognizable that it tricked everyone into thinking it was a good album. I've heard somebody make this comment before, like, people wouldn't have thought it was a good album if it weren't for this album art. I mean, it is a good record. I think people would have enjoyed the record regardless, and Pink Floyd did have quite a bit of credibility at that point, so it's not as if the record would have just fallen on deaf ears regardless of what the cover was. But, you know, do gotta admit, it is a fire-ass logo. I mean, it's one of the most instantly recognizable rock logos of all time. It's like literally such an iconic image. It's transcended rock music and Pink Floyd itself. How can you hate on it? Rage Against the Machine, self-titled. It encompasses the energy and political mayhem presented on the record, and taking such a historic picture and putting it in the context of this album makes it a very meaningful cover that is also badass. You know, it is a strong cover. It is a strong cover, but I would personally step back a little bit from saying that, you know, what the monks in this protest were doing, you know, was like a show of badassness or anything like that. Obviously, it was a really extreme political statement, which, I mean, Rage Against the Machine in their own way, like, gives a nod to and supports. You know, I do over the years have my qualms with the cover. It does border a little bit on revolution and protesting as like an aesthetic. Even if Rage does endorse the meaning of the protests on the front of the cover, there is part of me that sort of sits and tilts my head thinking, like, to put something as raw as burning yourself to death on the front of a commercially released rock album, which people are going to be rocking out to, just an entertainment album. Not like a documentary about it, not like, any real information about it. I honestly can tell you from being an old school Rage fan and knowing a lot of other people who were Rage fans from back in the day, like, not a lot of people knew the origin of this image. So to remove this image so far from its context, for me, you know, is kind of like lessening its impact a little bit, which I don't think the band was intending. I think they were trying to empower and sort of like show solidarity in a way, but I think that's still kind of the effect that it ended up having. Gonna go with a classic in Abbey Road. I personally think it's just too iconic to ignore. Seeing the group simply walk across the road is enough to get me excited. Also goes to show the power/popularity of the Beatles to have a cover as simple as this. I mean, it is simple, but I think it's a pretty interesting image. The fact that, you know, their legs are all kind of spread apart in the same way, and Paul is not having shoes, and, you know, they all have their own little kind of dress types, and they're equally spaced apart as well, and the picture is very well framed. I mean, it's not, as simple as it might come across. I mean, there's certainly a bit of orchestration to this photo, and I also love the contrast of the blue sky to the green trees and sort of like the dark asphalt and everything, and the way each Beatles outfit kind of makes them pop out against the background of the road. It's a good image. It's a good cover. To Be Kind, it made my son cry just like this when I played it through his baby monitor. Is this child abuse? Do we need to report this person? Liquid Swords. It sums up the WuTang Clan and their vibe and style with just one cover art. I wouldn't say the totality of the WuTang Clan itself. I would say what it sums up is more specific to GZA himself. You know, you have the fighting, you have the blades, you have the chess and everything, because, you know, GZA's a bit of a chess head, and he's perceived to be one of the headier members of the WuTang Clan. So, you know, all of it culminating in I think, a record that's very specific to him, his style, and his vibe. I mean, I wouldn't really expect that cover art to be on, like, an Old Dirty Bastard front cover, you know, or even like a Method Man front cover, frankly. Ooh, Quarantine by Laurel Halo, best artwork hands down. You know, I've never been a big Laurel Halo fan. I've never been a huge fan of this record, but I have enjoyed this album art for a long time. Like, this is crazy fucking album art. I am absolutely confused by the grid, which distorts so heavily throughout this just like mayhem situation of just like sword suicide. I forget the term for it. Austin will put it up on the screen over here, but anyway, like the schoolgirls, the bloodshed, the rainbow, the entrails, like it's so fucking extreme and it's so fucking crazy. I would expect this more on like A Naked City, like album cover or some shit like that. I do love the fuck out of this cover. Pet Sounds, The Beach Boys. It perfectly reflects the idea of the album showing happiness and joy. Yeah, I mean, it is a pretty sweet album cover. The picture with the boys and the goats and everything is pretty cute. Plus, on top of that, I saw a really weird video on YouTube that was all about the typography of the font that is on that front cover, and it just has such a long history in newspaper and print and advertising and album covers. It's just about everywhere and is still very much in rotation today. I guess if you really love this album cover, you could get some insight into a really cool aspect about it. And yeah, it is a pretty cool classic album cover. It's fun, though I wouldn't say it entirely matches the music. I guess I see a lot of the music on Pet Sounds to be really wondrous and almost heavenly and otherworldly. You know, I guess the whole pet feeding, or not pet, but sort of like, you know, farm animal feeding image on the front cover just seems like so low-key and down to earth and just kind of like, you know, just chilling with the bros, feeding some goats. You know, doesn't exactly communicate to me a God only knows what I'd be without you.
Such beautiful music and sang a nice sang.
The Velvet Underground and Nico, it has a banana on it. Yeah, it's a pretty iconic Andy Warhol image. You know, a little cheeky as well with the peel slowly and see. And, you know, so many editions of the album art allow you to kind of pull the banana back and all that stuff, which is pretty creative, pretty cool. What is that Rolling Stones album cover? You can like unzip the pants. There's a lot of wild, you know, album arts and stuff out there. I'm surprised nobody brought up stuff like Metal Box or, you know, I did say cover art, so I suppose that does make sense that weird things like that wouldn't come up. But still, this does kind of put me in a place where I think about all of the various instances of specifically vinyl cover art, because that's when that shit was really ambitious, where it was interactive or there was some kind of like weird quality about it that you could adjust or change or, you know, do something with, which does kind of suck that we don't so much get that anymore in the digital age. But, you know, it is what it is. As long as the music is good, I suppose. And you know what, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching this latest edition of Let's Argue. Let me know down in the comments what some of your favorite album arts are, what you think the best one is, and we will catch you in the next one. Anthony Fantano, Let's Argue, forever.